So, you're planning on getting the Brazil Digital Nomad Visa. That's awesome, but there is one little thing that causes more headaches than pretty much anything else. In this explainer, we're going to master the apostille process and turn what feels like a bureaucratic nightmare into a super simple checklist.
First, take a look at this number, 40%. So what is that? Well, that's roughly the percentage of first-time Brazil visa applications that get rejected. And the reason isn't some super complex legal issue. Nope, it's a single, common, and totally preventable error that we are about to break down.
You know, the number one thing that trips people up isn't their income. It's not their job. It's not their travel history. It is a single stamp, a single piece of paper that stands between so many applicants and their visa approval.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Camila Araujo Mota, a Brazilian immigration attorney who's seen hundreds of these applications, puts it very clearly. Missing or incorrect apostilles are the top reason for rejection. This is really the whole ballgame.
Okay, so now that we know the stakes are pretty high, let's actually decode this thing. We're going to pull back the curtain on what an apostille even is, why it was created in the first place, and, most importantly, which of your documents absolutely positively need one.
Let's start with the absolute basics, right? Because once you understand the what, the how becomes so much easier. So, what in the world is an apostille?
You know, in the simplest terms, it's basically an international seal of approval. It's a special certification that was created by the Hague Convention way back in 1961. And all it does is tell one country that an official document from another country is the real deal. It's like a universal language for authenticating paperwork.
To really get why this is so great, you have to see the world before the apostille.
Getting a document approved was this ridiculously complicated chain of events. You had to get it notarized, then get state authentication, then federal, and then finally take it to the consulate. It was an absolute mess.
And this is the solution. The apostille just completely streamlined that whole process. It took that four-step nightmare and replaced it with a single, internationally recognized certification. One stamp to rule them all, right?
Okay, so what documents are we talking about here? Well, your criminal background check, that is non-negotiable. If you're bringing a spouse or kids, their marriage and birth certificates are, of course, mandatory. And any court documents, like a divorce decree or a custody agreement, they fall into this category too.
Now, what's just as important is what doesn't need one. Please do not waste your time or money getting your passport or your bank statements apostilled. But, and you need to pay very close attention to this note, while your income proof doesn't need an apostille, it absolutely does need to be translated into Portuguese by a certified sworn translator. Huge difference.
All right, theory's over. Let's get practical. In this next section, we're going to break down exactly where you need to go, what it's going to cost, and how long it's probably going to take, depending on where you're from.
First up, let's talk to all of our applicants in the United States. The key thing to get about the U.S. is that it's kind of a dual system. So documents issued by a state, like a birth certificate, are handled by that state's Secretary of State. But, and this is the crucial one, your FBI background check must be apostilled at the federal level by the U.S. Department of State. Mixing these two up is a classic instant rejection trigger.
All right, let's hop across the pond to the United Kingdom.
Now, the process in the UK is way more streamlined. Pretty much everything goes through one central office. But the vital detail here is in that note. Brazilian immigration requires a very specific type of background check. It's called an ACRO police certificate. A standard DBS check will not cut it.
Okay, now for our neighbors to the north in Canada.
So Canada is a really unique case, and that's because, as you can see, they only joined the Hague Convention in early 2024. That means their process is newer, and it actually involves a three-step chain. You need notarization, then provincial authentication, and then the final apostille from Global Affairs Canada. You cannot skip a single step.
Let's do a quick rapid-fire round for a few other common countries. As you can see, for Australia, Germany, and the Netherlands, the process is pretty quick and affordable. And for anyone applying from France, yes, you are seeing that correctly. It is completely free. How amazing is that?
Now, we've arrived at what might be the most important section of this whole thing. We are going to cover the common pitfalls, those simple little mistakes that can get your application tossed out immediately.
Think of this as your final quality control checklist. First, double-check that you're using a national-level background check, not a state one. Second, look at the issue date. That background check cannot be older than 90 days when you submit your visa application. And finally, never ever submit a photocopy. Brazil needs the original physical apostille or a verified e-apostille.
Okay, so you've done it. You've navigated the bureaucracy, you've got the right documents, you've got the right apostilles, you're ready to submit, right? Well, not quite. There is one final, critical step that so many people miss.
This is so important to understand. The apostille just verifies that a document is real. It doesn't change the language it's in. Every single apostille document, and that includes the apostille certificate itself, has to be fully translated into Portuguese by an official, state-certified sworn translator in Brazil known as a tradutor juramentado.
This slide just illustrates the whole package perfectly. On the left, you've got what many applicants think is a finished document. But on the right, that's what Brazilian immigration actually requires. It's a three-part bundle: the original document, the apostille, and the full sworn translation. All three.
So there you have it. That thing that seems so intimidating is actually a pretty clear, manageable process. And by getting this one piece right, you have just jumped over the #1 reason for rejection. You are a massive step closer to starting your adventure in Brazil. The mystery is solved. So the only question left is, what are you going to tackle next?